Um, Ironically, I think I'm a little used to it now. I think Australia, well, honestly, if I have to think about it, like my
They
both.
came for Naomi Osaka after Roland Garros, and the internet went absolutely feral. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the only place where we give you the real talk, the raw truth, and zero tolerance for nonsense. And today, people, we have some nonsense to address. Serious, disgusting, keyboard warrior nonsense that has absolutely no place in this sport or in this world. So buckle up, because we are diving deep into one of the most infuriating stories to come out of the tennis world this week, and trust me when I say, by the time we are done here, you are going to feel every single emotion on the spectrum. Naomi Osaka, four-time Grand Slam champion, mother, icon, one of the most recognizable athletes on the entire planet. A woman who has carried the weight of mental health conversations in professional sports almost entirely on her own shoulders, who has stepped away, come back, given birth to a beautiful baby girl, and then, because she is built differently from the rest of us, laced up her shoes and walked back onto the biggest stages in professional tennis.
For Naomi Osaka.
A woman who reached the semifinal of the United States Open as a mother. Let that sentence sit with you for a moment. The U.S. Open semifinal. As a mother. While the rest of us can barely manage a grocery run without losing our minds. And yet, after her loss at Roland Garros, where she stepped out onto that red clay and competed against the world number one player on the planet, the internet decided it was time to show its absolute worst face. The hateful messages flooded in. Not a trickle, not a few bad apples hiding in the comments section. A flood. A torrent of ugliness directed at a woman who has never once been anything but gracious, humble, and kind in her public life. And we are going to talk about every single bit of it today on Court Vision Plus, because silence is not an option. Let us start from the very beginning, because context is everything, and if you are going to understand just how absurd this hate campaign is, you need to understand who Naomi Osaka actually is and what she has actually been through. Naomi Osaka burst onto the professional tennis scene as a teenager with a serve that could peel paint off a wall and a baseline game that had coaches and commentators rubbing their eyes in disbelief. She was quiet, a little awkward in interviews, clearly still figuring out who she was in front of a global audience, but on the court, ruthless, brilliant, a problem that opponents had no answer for. She turned professional in 2013 at just 15 years old, and within a few years it became clear that this was not just a talented player. This was a generational talent. The kind that comes along once in a very long time and changes what we think is possible. Then came 2018. The U.S. Open Final. Serena Williams on the other side of the net. The most charged, emotionally complex Grand Slam final in recent memory, with controversy swirling around every game point. And right there in the middle of all of it, a 20-year-old Naomi Osaka somehow blocked out every single distraction, every bit of noise, every piece of chaos erupting around her, and she played the match of her life. She beat Serena Williams at the U.S. Open on her home court. In a final that the entire world was watching. And she did it cleanly, beautifully, and then cried while wearing a visor pulled down over her face because she felt bad that the crowd was upset, even though she had just achieved one of the greatest results of her career.
It's really weird.
That
Well,
right
it's
there
not
tells
weird,
you everything you
'cause,
need to
I just
know
feel
about
like
Naomi
I
Osaka's
did the best
character.
that I could.
She followed that up with the Australian Open title in 2019. Then back to the U.S. Open in 2020, where she showed up wearing 7 different masks throughout the tournament, each one bearing the name of a Black American who had been a victim of racial injustice. In the middle of a global pandemic, on one of the biggest sporting stages in the world, she used her platform not to promote herself, not to run a brand deal, but to make people pay attention to names that deserve to be remembered. People argued about it. People debated whether athletes should mix sports and social messaging, and Naomi Osaka just kept winning. She lifted that trophy and made history once again. Australian Open 2021 followed, giving her that fourth Grand Slam title and cementing her place among the elite of the elite in women's tennis. Then came the moment that changed everything, not just for Naomi, but for sports culture globally. The 2021 French Open. Roland Garros. The very same tournament where this latest controversy has erupted. Naomi Osaka made the decision to withdraw from press conferences, citing her mental health. She explained that the mandatory post-match media obligations were causing her significant anxiety and depression, and she needed to prioritize her well-being. She was fined. She was threatened with disqualification. And rather than fight a system that was not ready to have that conversation, she withdrew from the tournament entirely. Then she withdrew from Wimbledon. Then she took an extended break from the sport altogether. The backlash she received for that decision was, in hindsight, almost as ugly as what she is facing right now. People called her soft. People said she was making excuses. People said that if she could not handle the pressure of professional tennis, then she should step aside and let someone tougher take her place. And Naomi Osaka, instead of firing back, instead of going to war on social media, simply spoke her truth quietly, continued to advocate for mental health awareness, and eventually came back to the sport when she was ready. But the story was not done adding chapters. In 2023, Naomi Osaka announced that she was pregnant. She welcomed her daughter, Shai, into the world, and for a while the tennis court was not the priority. Being a mother was. And anyone who has watched a parent, particularly a mother, navigate the early stages of parenthood knows exactly how all-consuming that experience is. Sleep deprivation, the physical recovery, the emotional recalibration, the complete restructuring of your entire identity and daily existence. Most people get through that and consider it a victory just to feel like themselves again. Naomi Osaka decided to return to professional Grand Slam tennis. She came back at the 2024 Australian Open, just over a year after giving birth, and she won her first round match. She competed. She was rusty, she was still finding her footing, but she was there. On the court. Competing at the highest level of the sport with a baby at home. And later that same year, she reached the semifinal of the United States Open. The US Open semifinal. As a new mother. In her first full season back on tour. The kind of result that should have had every sports fan on the planet standing up and applauding, because that is not a normal achievement. That is extraordinary. That is the kind of story that movies get made about. So when Naomi Osaka steps out at Roland Garros and faces the world number one, the best player on the planet, and loses, what should happen? What is the reasonable, decent, human response to watching someone you admire fall short in a match against the very pinnacle of what professional tennis looks like right now? Apparently, if you are a certain breed of internet user, the answer is to open your keyboard and type some of the most vile, personal, and degrading things imaginable. The messages that came flooding in after her Roland Garros loss are, frankly, stomach-turning. Comments telling her that a grandmother could beat her. Comments telling her she should give up tennis and just be a full-time mother, as if choosing to be both a mother and a professional athlete is somehow a personal affront. A four-time Grand Slam champion who just lost a match against the number one player in the world. Let us pause on that for just a moment, because it is important. She lost to the world number one. The best player on the planet. The player who beats almost everybody almost all of the time. Losing to the world number one is not a scandal. It's people. That is literally how rankings work. Rafael Nadal lost matches. Roger Federer lost matches. Serena Williams lost matches. Losing a match against the best player in the world is a Tuesday in professional sport, not a referendum on your entire career and personal life choices. But the cruelty went beyond the tennis. same ugly message. You tried to have it all, you failed, now go back to where you belong. Go back to the kitchen. Go back to the nursery. Stop taking up space in a world where you are not wanted anymore. And that is so much bigger than tennis. That is a message that women in every profession have been receiving for centuries, dressed up in new language but carrying the same rotten core. The idea that a woman who becomes a mother has used up her professional capital. That ambition and motherhood are mutually exclusive.
Ironically, I think I'm a little used to it now. I think Australia, well, honestly, if I have to think about it, like my bow dress with the yun.
That choosing to pursue excellence in your career after having a child is somehow selfish or delusional. It is an idea that we as a society have supposedly moved beyond, and yet here it is, right there in Naomi Osaka's comment section, as fresh and as ugly as ever. What makes it even harder to stomach is the timing. This is coming immediately after a tournament loss. Not a pattern of poor results over years. Not a retirement announcement. Not a public meltdown or a controversial statement. A single match pounced the moment she gave them the slightest opening. This is the dark side of what it means to be a globally famous athlete in the social media era, and Naomi Osaka has experienced it more intensely and more personally than almost anyone else in professional sports. There is no buffer anymore between the performer and the audience. After every match, win or lose, the floodgates open, maybe a conversation with a coach or a loved one. For Naomi Osaka, it is followed by thousands of strangers telling her she is worthless. And she keeps coming back. She keeps showing up. She keeps competing. There is something almost incomprehensible about the psychological toughness required to do what she does, not just physically but emotionally. To absorb that kind of noise and still find the motivation to train, to travel, to step out onto a court in front of thousands of people and compete for your livelihood while knowing that a loss will bring all of it rushing back in. Most of us would fold. Most of us would never survive 1 week of that kind of scrutiny. The tennis community has rallied around Naomi in the wake of this latest round of hate, and rightfully so. Fans, fellow players, commentators, many voices have come forward to remind the world that this is a decorated champion and a remarkable human being who deserves respect, full stop. The outpouring of genuine support from a real fan base has been beautiful to witness, a reminder that for every poisonous comment lurking in the corners of the internet, there are 10 more people who see Naomi Osaka for who she actually is and love her for it. Because who she actually is special. Not just as a tennis player, though obviously that is its own remarkable story, but as a person. She is famously gentle in interviews, thoughtful in a way that younger athletes rarely are, self-aware about her own struggles and honest about them in a way that takes genuine courage. She does not pretend to be bulletproof. She does not construct a persona of invincibility. She is human, openly and sometimes vulnerably so, and that humanity is exactly why people connect with her so deeply and why the attacks on her feel so particularly vicious. She has used her platform to speak about mental health when it was not yet fashionable to do so in the sports world. She has used it to speak about racial justice. She has done so without ever turning it into a performance or a marketing exercise, but simply because these are things she believes in and thinks the world needs to hear. She has been imperfect, as all humans are, and she has been honest about those imperfections. She has taken breaks, she has changed direction, she has reassessed and returned and tried again. She has shown young athletes and young women everywhere that your story does not have to follow anyone else's script. And now she is writing a new chapter. A chapter about being a mother who also competes at the highest level of professional tennis. A chapter about reclaiming an identity that was put on hold, not abandoned, while she experienced one of the most profound transformations a human being can go through. She is not asking anyone's permission to do this. She is not looking for validation from people who think she should quietly step aside. She is simply doing the work, showing up, competing, and trusting that the results will come. Will she win another Grand Slam? Honestly, nobody knows. Tennis at the elite level is extraordinarily unpredictable, and the women's game right now is filled with incredible talent at every level of the rankings. The road back to the top for any player after an extended absence is steep, and Naomi has faced additional challenges that most returning players have not. But here is what we absolutely do know: she reached the U.S. Open semifinal on her return. She is competing at Grand Slams against the world's best players. She is not wilting under pressure, she is not disappearing from the tour, she is not giving the hateful voices the satisfaction of seeing her quit. She is still here. And she deserves to be here. Not just tolerated, but celebrated. Supported. Cheered for. Because what she is doing, what she has always done, takes more strength than most of us will ever be called upon to demonstrate. The ability to face the worst that public life can throw at a person, to process it, to refuse to let it define or diminish you, and then to go back out there and compete again. That is not weakness. That is extraordinary, quiet, relentless courage. To the people sending those hateful messages, what exactly are you hoping to achieve? Do you feel better about yourselves when you tell a four-time Grand Slam champion that she is worthless? Does it fill some void, sharpen some blunted edge of your own self-worth, to aim cruelty at someone who has accomplished more in their athletic career than most humans can dream of? Because from where we stand on Court Vision Plus, all it does is reveal responded to that loss with hatred have revealed everything about theirs. The most powerful thing that fans of this sport, real fans, people who understand and love what professional tennis is and what it demands of the people who play it, can do right now is make noise in the opposite direction. Comment on her posts. Tell her she is appreciated.
Look into the crowd and you see some of those Japanese flags and so many people supporting you. Do you sometimes have to just sort of pinch yourself a bit?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think for me, I always just think of...
Proof that mental health advocacy and elite athletic performance are not in conflict. A U.S. Open semifinal run as a new mother. A career that has defied every setback and qualification whatsoever. Naomi, we see you. We appreciate you. We are with you for every match, every win, every loss, every moment of this remarkable journey. Your true fans were never going anywhere, and we are not going anywhere now. The keyboard warriors can type until their fingers fall off. They are background noise. You are the story. And what a story it is. Now if you made it to the end of this video, you already know what to do. Smash that like button. Drop a comment below letting us know what you think about the treatment Naomi Osaka has been receiving and whether you believe she will add to her Grand Slam tally before her career is done. We want to hear from you. Subscribe to Court Vision Plus if you have not already. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown, a take, or a truth bomb, because we are just getting started. This community is built on love for the game and respect for the athletes who dedicate their lives to it, and that is never going to change. We will see you in the next one.
Ironically, I think I'm a little used to it now. I think Australia, well, honestly, if I have to think about it, like my bow dress with the yun